Hi beautiful, how are you doing? This is the video tutorial of the runaway look that I create for the fourth episode of the series that I specially made for beginners makeup artists. In that specific episode, I'm talking about two major abilities that every makeup artist needs to develop: consistency and adaptability. There, I use a fashion show backstage scenario as an example to explain my point. And if you haven't watched that video yet, I would appreciate if you could take the time to do it so. And this is your opportunity to see how I came up with the look. And I would like to challenge you to replicate this look on yourself. You might as well post the results on your Instagram account, and remember to tag me there as well so that I could give you my feedback, especially to you. Hi, I'm Flavio Miguel, and if you are looking for a makeup educator online, this is your place to be. Leave all of your questions in the comment section below and let me know what types of content and videos you'd like me to do in the future. And if you're enjoying watching this, please show some support by giving us a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel, and putting your notifications on. I post regularly new content, so make sure you will not miss any of them. I recorded with each of my models in 3 different days. Because of COVID-19 restrictions, I had to rewrite the script halfway through the production. When the episode was first written, I wanted to replicate a backstage scenario with multiple people working with one model, lineups for eventual checkups and corrections. But safety comes always first, though I still think I was able to make my point quite clear. The core of a runaway look depends on a couple of things. It is almost part of the collection. They reflect the ideas behind the concept. They emulate emotions. But above it all, the main goal is to appeal to a certain audience. The simplicity or complexity of the looks would vary depending on all of those factors. Some looks, they can be quite intricate and elaborated. This could be due to a complex base, a certain eye feature, graphic elements, etc. But some looks, they might look quite understated at the first sight. However, it doesn't mean they are easy looks to execute. In my career, I've seen looks where the key artist, the one responsible for the look, would ask us to only use skincare and concealer in the areas where would be needed. Sometimes there would be no eyeshadows, not even mascara, which means that you would have to deal with whatever skin conditions you might come across in backstage. You cannot just put foundation on top of it if the key artist didn't ask you or allowed you to do so. So for my runaway look, I wanted to create a natural, simple, transparent base, assuming that all of my models, they would have really nice and pretty skin to work with. I wanted to keep the focus on the eyes by creating what you could have called a deconstructed eyeliner, if you will. Before I start an application, I would always ask 2 questions for my models. The first is, what is that they are wearing at this moment on their skin? And the second is, what type of skin do they have? And the reason why I do this is to figure out which kind of moisturizer I should use for them. For example, let's say that my model has a normal to dry skin. In this case, I could use a slightly richer moisturizer. However, if my model tells me that they have a normal to oily skin, then I could use a oil controlling moisturizer, which is most likely to be a gel-based product. Like I said before, the way you prep the skin before the application would have a huge impact in the durability of your makeup. When it comes to a fashion show, it's most likely that the models would have to wait for hours until the start of the show. So you want to make sure that the makeup stays on until that moment. This could go from a couple of hours up to 7 hours before the start of the show. And it is during the lineup that you would have the opportunity to retouch the look. But this should be minor corrections, such as lips, dark circle under the eyes, and eyebrows. But the rest of the look should be the way it was when you first finished the application. I prefer to apply the skincare with my hands, but before doing this, I would always ask my models if that's okay that I work with my hands. You never know when you would come across somebody that would rather have you working with brushes. I never had a situation like that, but once during Paris Fashion Week, a friend of mine that was working right next to me when he was about to apply the moisturizer on this model's face, she immediately stopped him and said quite loudly, "No, you're not touching me with your hands." Believe me, it is extremely awkward. It wasn't with me, but I felt really bad for my colleague. So before applying anything with your hands, just ask permission. Ask your clients and your models if that's okay that you work with your hands. And if they say yes, fine, just go ahead. But if they say no, at least you asked before. And if that's the case, believe me, this would tell us much more about this person than about yourself. So keep it up with a professional attitude and go on doing what you do best, which is minding your own business. As you can see, my model did allow me to work with my hands. I like to take the opportunity to massage her face. After the massage, her face would look toned and showing visible less puffiness. This is not only super nice for your model, but it will give you the opportunity to have a more intimate acquaintance with your model's skin. The touch of your fingers will help you to feel its texture. It's going to give you a better insight about their conditions, if they needed some extra care, or if it would need some slightly more coverage when applying the concealer and foundation. When applying lip conditioner, I like to simply ask to my models to show me their index finger, so that I would sample a little portion of lip conditioner. Then I would ask them to generously apply on their own lips. For the base, I've chosen to use a water-based foundation to keep the coverage sheer and the finishing quite natural and dewy. After that, I use a liquid concealer with medium coverage to perfectify the skin in the areas where it needed, such as under the eyes, the nose bridge, the nose wings, and around the mouth, and to conceal any visible imperfection that I might come across during the application. After that, I use a blotting pressed powder to set the base as well as keeping it matte. I did apply it on the forehead and T-zone. I kept the rest of the skin free of powder so I wouldn't lose that dewy finish that I intentionally created. The other reason is because I wanted to use a creamy product to create the blush. It wouldn't be ideal to first set the cheeks with powder to after come with a creamy product on top of it. It just doesn't make any sense. But before we go on, let me just explain what I've done with her eyebrows. My models Yana and Cynthia, they have both already naturally full defined eyebrows, so I decided to only brush them upwards and set them using a brow soap. I was afraid to make them look heavy and overly done by adding color to them, so I kept them just the way they were. But as you can see in this other footage, Queen's eyebrows are not as defined as Yana's and Cynthia's. So here, I decided to use a very thin brow marker to create extra hair and make them look a little bit more similar to the eyebrows of the other two models. Now, going back to the blush, I used a combination of two shades of cream blush. One is a pale blush mixed with a slightly deeper purple blush. That is a smart way to deal with different skin tones on the same fashion show. If I'm dealing with a model with a fair skin tone, then I could choose to add more of that pale coral shade into that mixture. And when I'm dealing with a model with a slightly deeper skin tone, then I could use more of the deep purple color. This enables me to keep the same range of color, only varying the tints and shades of it in order to adapt to each and every model. On the waterline, I've chosen to apply a good layer of a nude smudge-proof eye pencil. I want to make sure the models are looking very fresh and awake. To finish it up the skin, I decided to highlight the highest points of the face. By this I mean the inner corner of the eyes, the dorsum of the nose, the cupid bow, as well as the highest points of the cheeks where it connects with the top of the blush. This is going to create dimension on the face and it will react very nicely with the runaway lining. So to create that black stroke on the eyelid, I use a highly pigmented glycerin base cake, which is activated with water. To apply it, I've chosen to work with a stippling brush, but first making it quite wet so all the hairs they would stick to one another, creating those spikes that would help me to achieve that stroke effect on the eyelid. Before applying it on the eyelid, I first traced a stroke on the back of my hand, just to get a good sense of how wet and pigmented the brush at that moment would be. You don't want to mess up this part. Slowly and steadily, I've stroked the brush sidewards from the inner corner towards the outer corner and slightly upwards at the very end of the outer corners. I've intentionally kept the root of the lashes free of product to avoid that it would look heavy and chunky. At this point, the look is nearly done. It's time to apply the mascara and finish the lips. For this look, I've chosen to work with two different mascaras. One which has a quite big mascara brush and another one with a very thin and firm mascara brush. I started with the big mascara, applying the product using only the tip of the brush, stippling it in between the roots of the lashes. The intention is to create small little dots of mascara. Now, using the smaller applicator, you will start brushing upwards those small little dots of mascara. The final result should be very full lashes, yet feathery, since you will not be applying it all the way towards the extensions of the hairs. Now it's time to go to the lips. First, we would remove eventual excess of the lip conditioner. We will now prep the skin around it with some concealer, setting it with powder, and applying a good layer of lip primer. Ask your model to gently roll the lips onto each other. The lip liner that I've chosen to work with has a pale flesh rose tone. I apply it naturally, avoiding overdrawing the lips, but rather creating nice and well-balanced lips. The lipstick has a similar color to the lip liner, and because it has a gel-based formula, it gives us a nice setting finish to the lips, making them look luscious, fresh, hydrated, and extremely healthy. If this was a real-life situation, we would have done a lineup right before the start of the show, so that we could see if all the models they are looking the same, and to know if you would have to do any eventual retouches before they hit the runway. It is most likely that we would have retouched eyebrows, the lips, and apply some powder in specific areas, as you can see in this video. And here we are, and the models are ready to rock the runway. If you enjoy watching this video, let me know by liking and sharing it. And I cannot wait to read all of your impressions and any questions that you might have in the comment section below. You might as well request some themes and subjects for my future videos. And again, thank you for all your time, love and support, and I see you all next time. Bye bye!